Birmingham City Council ignored bankruptcy warning signs, says an expert. I'm going to read into this more from The Guardian, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Guardian with the headline, "The Birmingham City Council ignored bankruptcy warning signs, says experts." Mark Couller, tasked with pulling the local authorities from financial brink, calls the crisis self-inflicted, is what he claims. Now, obviously, we are fully aware that many councils have had their budgets slashed to the bone by the Conservative government. I don't think anyone is debating or arguing that. But has there been mismanagement by councils? And I think that's a question that rightfully needs to be asked as well. And don't get me wrong, like, I am angry of how much austerity has been inflicted on the British public and these councils facing impossible tasks. But are there questions that need to be asked about the way that they are managing their money and their budgets when it comes to dealing with simple basic services? Birmingham City Council were warned of bankruptcy warning signs here. So I think it's important to put that into perspective, but doesn't mean to say that the Conservative government are not responsible as well for the austerities that they have caused and have made life more difficult for councils. It's very important to make that point. So let's read into it. So, councillors at Birmingham City Council ignored the warning signs of its financial crisis and caused a self-inflicted disaster that will take years of cuts to rectify, according to a lead government commissioner drafted in to help. Local government expert Max Couller, who has been nicknamed Max the Axe for his unsparing approach to budget cuts, was lured out of retirement to take on the task of fixing England's largest local authority after it effectively declared itself bankrupt. They should never have done this. They ignored the warning signs, crashed on regardless, and they crashed themselves into a controlled disaster, said Couller, who is 5 weeks into the task of pulling the local authority from the financial brink. The council issued a Section 114 notice in September, largely due to the rapidly escalating and equal pay claim bill of at least £760 million and problems implementing a new IT system costing £100 million. You got an IT system costing £100 million? Jesus. Where's that? What? £100 million? Does it really... Question in the chat. Does it really cost an IT system £100 million? Just going to put that question out there. Like, I don't know how much the average IT system costs, but £100 million sounds like a lot. There will be job losses. It's inevitable. There will be some services that will no longer run. It's inevitable, Couller says. It won't be easy, it will be painful, and some things will get worse before they get better, but it will be a smaller, more focused operation at the end of it. Couller has worked in local governments for decades, being drafted into councils including Hackney, Tower Hamlets and Slough to sort out mismanagement and debt. Birmingham looks likely to be his biggest challenge yet, after a financial report published on Wednesday showed that the council has an expected budget shortfall of £164.8 million in 2024-2025, rising to £177.1 million in 2025-2026. The council must make £165 million worth of savings in the next financial year, with usable reserves £670 million in negative, an unprecedented financial position according to the council's financial director, Florida Greenway. A statement from Couller's commission and team appointed by the Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove criticised the very limited progress made so far and said without significant action by councillors they would struggle to see a lawful budget for the forthcoming year. Their track record of delivering savings is not good. In the last few years they've just never hit their savings targets, and there's no penalty for doing that. Those days are gone, he said. I just, like, £670 million in the negative. Like, how, like, what is causing councils to be so lacklustre with some of their budget? Now that is a question that we need to ask. You know, just take aside austerity for a second. Like, you know, you have to be. You can't go. If you can't be careless with money, with taxpayers' money. You know, I understand it's a very difficult job, and sometimes there's going to be disagreements, within of how to spend the money. But you've got to be professional about it, and you've got to be realistic about what they can and can't do. You know, the very basic things that councils need to be done. How much are they spending on, and is there some things that they need to necessarily to spend on as well? There's so many more questions I just have with regards to all this. According to Caller, the problem implementing a new IT system, the council's first big IT upgrade since 1999, is not only costing huge amounts of money, but preventing it from being able to assess the scale of the problem. So they haven't upgraded their IT system since 1999. But to be fair, I know that there are some who haven't upgraded for a long time because they can't afford it. I do seriously think that if we have councils with lots of old IT systems, I seriously think that the government or the Chancellor in his budget should set aside some cash to upgrade these IT systems for councils, because these systems are very, very important for us to very important for councils. I think there should be something should seriously be looked at and considered. Not so much coming from the council's budgets, but straight from the government, a government fund of some sort, to keep them up to date, with information and sorts. What do you guys think of that? Let me know. The disaster over the implementation of the Oracle effectively means that they won't have the coherent accounts for 2 years. They don't know who paid their council tax and their business rates entirely, he said. Our judgment presently is they'll have to start again, take the system out and put it back in. And that's a long job. While the selling assets is imminent, he said it was unlikely to include heritage assets such as its base of the council house or city museum or art gallery. The council owns so much stuff it doesn't know what to do with that. There's plenty of things to sell before we can even get close to thinking about it, he said. John Cotton, the leader of Birmingham City Council, said the budget shortfall came after a decade of cuts and recent rampant inflation. But there's also the management of the budget. And you have to, I understand austerity, but you also still got to make, as painful it is, you have to make sacrifices so that you can still meet your budgets. I know it's not fair. I know austerity is not fair, but it still doesn't, the deficit, there's still no justification in it from them, in my opinion. The Cabinet and leadership team are focused on working with the Commissioners to meet these challenges and get the Council on a road to improvement, he said. We know it will not be easy and we have to make very difficult decisions about where money is spent and invested and what we can no longer afford to do. Despite the growing number of local authorities in financial straits, Caller said that although councils were struggling, most were handling current economic pressures. There are authorities that are struggling with energy cost increase, struggling with the inflation rates, and certainly the local government settlements that has not kept up with these sorts of things, he said. Short-term shocks are a period of long austerity. It's not surprising that councils are struggling. Nottingham City Council could be next to go bust after announcing a £26 million gap in its finances for the financial year, while Somerset Council declared a financial emergency this week. But Caller said the situation at Birmingham and other councils in financial crisis were unique, often down to risky decision making. This is the key thing here. This word here. Risky decision making. Now, yes, there are some councils who are struggling financially and because of austerity, but you're making stupid, risky decisions. Understandably, you deserve a slap on the head, for the mismanagement and put the council in the hole that it is. So you really need to be, looking after the pennies really does matter, guys. And I think this point here, risky decision bit, I think that's the key factor here for Birmingham in particular. Ending up with potential liabilities of £750 million because over years you're getting equal pay wrong and spending something short of 200 million and not managing or implementing the Oracle properly. those are self-inflicted, aren't they? He said. You've got to do the basics really well before you do clever. And many of these authorities have not focused on doing the basics really well. That's what he says there. Now, obviously, this is one council, and we don't know every single council situation, but this is from what Max Caller states. Now, obviously, as I said at the start of the video and numerous times, yes, austerity is a key factor in this. But that still doesn't mean that they need to learn to handle their business and handle their finances as well. They need to make sure they ensure the most basic of services is running within the councils, and then go from there with what you have in terms of budget wise. I want to make it clear. I cannot imagine how difficult it is for them to sit around that table, or team meetings or team calls, Zoom calls, whatever, and having to make these decisions. It is a brutal decisions that they have to make every single day. These councils struggling to try and find money, the pennies, to run some of the most basics of services, closing things that people rely on from a community aspect. It's a very difficult job. It is a very difficult job that they are in. I'm not taking any of that away from them, but that doesn't change the fact that some of them have made some absolutely stupid, diabolical decisions, and really should have thought about the long term. What's the word? The long-term damage that it will cause to the council, as in what's looked like here, the debt that Birmingham City the Birmingham City Council find themselves in. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's just all down to austerity? Do you disagree with me? Maybe it's just a case of austerity is the reason why all these things are happening, or is it really, or can it be partly austerity, but also perhaps some councils are not looking after their budgets properly? Let me know what you honestly think down in the comments section below. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share across social media, and hit that bell notification icon if you'll be notified of when I go live. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.